What's up, everyone? This is Tatum. I'm back with another episode of Fuck This Review, where today I'm continuing my rock and roll journey. So today, I'm going to be reviewing Black Sabbath, Paranoid. I always wanted to listen to this album. Only really song I knew from this album were two songs. Was Paranoid and Iron Man. And I mean, Iron Man's Iron Man, so you probably had to hear that one. Plus, growing up, born in the 90s, only really thing I knew from Ozzy Osbourne was the Osbourne shows. Hey, show it. Like that's the only that's the only thing I had of just Ozzy Osbourne or anything related to Black Sabbath in my life at the time. But I knew how great this album was or could have been, because it's still my first time listening to it, just by how much I see it in my life, like from T-shirts to vinyls, or just mentioned in popular culture and things of that nature. And again, like I said, I wanted to, with these up and coming Fuck This reviews, I wanted to go back and listen to some classic rock, just to update my music database, for lack of better words. So, Black Sabbath, Paranoid. This is Black Sabbath's second album. It was released in 1970, which is crazy. I think doing these reviews more frequently, it seemed like the best rock music came out in 1970. If I'm tripping, let me know in the comments, but it seemed like from the stuff I'm hearing that came out in the 70s, just from rock music to pop music to not only disco music to just everything around there, it seemed like some great music was being created, and people were being more free with their music, more free and with their topics that they were speaking about in their music, which is one of the things I really loved about this album. Was just the topics that they talked about on this album. I thought was pretty cool, and it's the band's most successful album. It's only 8 records, 7 one's an instrumental, and I think that's like really cool. Like if you get a classic and only have about 7 songs on it, and each one is amazing. So let's get into it. The album starts with War Pigs, and that song is just crazy. Like like I always say, the first song is the one that always gets me, and it has to catch me, and this one did a good job of doing that. I have a quote from Geezer Butler. He says, this before I get into this song exactly, it's crazy how like in time, it's two things. It's crazy in time how people in the band can say the song means 2 different things, and then it's crazy how the public perceives a song and takes a song, and that's the history of it. It's weird. That's one of the things I love about music. But the song, you would think it's about what he said. It was totally against the war of Vietnam. It was about the politicians and the rich people starting wars for their benefit, while the poor people always end up on the short end of the stick. And then I found another quote that I think he said, and I could be wrong, you could correct me, but I found another quote where he said it wasn't about politics or government or anything. It was just evil in itself. So at the beginning when it says the generals gather in the masses just like witches at black masses, and like Ozzy Osbourne, he's just so raw with his like opinions and statements. He was like, man, we ain't even know shit about the Vietnam War. But back to my other point of just like, it's crazy how, because you can listen to this song, and when I was listening to it, the first part, to be truthfully honest, I thought it was against war. Like it was called War Pigs. It sounds like it's a song against just war. It's 1970 Vietnam and things of that nature. It sounds like that. But then once you look at it, like the second, you could take the first verse as that, but when you get into the second verse, it gets more political. So like in the first verse, it says, generals gather in their masses, just like witches at black masses, evil minds that plot destruction, sorcerers of death construction. And I'm like, yeah, I can see how you could get like some witch stuff, some black like evil stuff involved in this, but you could also interpret that line as soldiers and how and then the other line that stood out to me is like politicians hide themselves away, like they only started the war, why should they go to fight, they leave it all to the poor. And I'm like, oh yeah, well that's just about that. But then I'm thinking from more stuff I read, man, Ozzy Osbourne was high as hell. like these songs can have multiple interpretations and meanings. Like he could have started off as this, being this thing, and the band could have started off as being this thing, and by the end it ended up as this thing. Like, all that is totally possible. It's just funny when reviewing it in 2021 and you getting all the interpretations of the song, even by band members. Like, no, it's about this. No, it's about this. No, it's about this. No, it's about this. I'm like, what were y'all thinking when y'all recorded? Was nobody nobody asked like, what's this song about? Or that everybody's just always have a different interpretation. Just a dope part of music. That guitar outro is also insane on there. I couldn't go to the next song without mentioning that. It's followed by Paranoid, which is probably one of Black Sabbath's biggest songs. Like that, the beginning guitar riff, or the guitar riff that goes through the whole thing, is just a classic guitar riff. It's one of the things I noticed about this album. They really had, obviously, Iron Man, but there were really some great guitar riffs through this whole thing, like really memorable guitar riffs in here. I should leave all that in here. He opens the song with finish with my woman because she couldn't help me with my mind. People think I'm insane because I'm frowning all the time. And it was written by and it was about I think his name is Geezer Butler. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And he was often called Paranoid by the band. And it seems like he wrote a lot of the records. Again, this is my first Black Sabbath record I'm listening to, but it seems like he wrote a lot of the material on the album. He said they always called him Paranoid, and he didn't even know what the word meant. It shows you what kind of times we were in. But he said he wrote it about his feelings as a depressed teenager, and he was thinking he was going insane at the time and things of that nature. From what I read, it only took 20 minutes to write. It was supposed to be a filler on the album because they wanted the album to be called War Pigs, but I don't know if the single came out and took off, or the record label just heard the single and was like, no, we want the album to be named Paranoid after the single. And it just shows you how crazy, I guess since it was their second album, they really didn't have full, I guess they had artistic control, but they didn't have full artistic control enough for the record company to say, no, we're naming the album Paranoid. Like, not War Pigs, Paranoid. Or maybe they had some ties, they didn't want the band to be considered or looked at as such political, like for not naming it War Pig. Like, I don't know. Just a thought I was thinking about when I was listening to the record and just doing some back research on it. The way that Ozzy flowed, it's funny to say this when I'm talking about rock singers, but the way that Ozzy flowed on the beat is just really crazy. It's one of those songs, again, I would have loved to see live. I think I need to make a segment of just like, this is the part of the show where I talk about songs I wanted to see live. But great record, great second track, great historic record, everything like that. I can't take nothing away from that song. Planet Caravan, it's a total different approach from everything else that's on this album. Like, it's a soft, mellow record, and it's not hard rock at all. It's just rock and roll, kind of bluesy in a way. It kind of it caught me by surprise, but in a good way. Like, just the sound of it's a standout track just because it's so different from everything else on the album, which I appreciated, especially at track 3, because, you know, we could just go hard metal all the way through it, but it was crazy and cool. It was crazy and cool that they, you know, just had that one in there just to change the pace and show that they were versatile. They could do this, they could do that, they could do this. I thought that was pretty cool. I like the vocal effect that was on there. I love the cool guitar that was in the background. I love like the Congo drums that were like, it's really a total different record from everything else on the album. It's very hippie like, I guess it was the 70s, but it's very trippy, like, for lack of better words. It's trippy. And to be truthfully honest with you, I'm not sure if it's a love song or just a trippy song, or like when I mean trip, I mean like mushrooms, LSD kind of record, because it's kind of like this, it's about a voyage. So I don't know if it's about on that voyage with the one you love, or on a voyage with your own mind, or both. It was just some of the things I was thinking about when listening to the record. And that piano they bring in towards the end over top of it's like as it fades off, it's a piano that comes in at the end. I really enjoyed that. Really cool record. Iron Man, there's not much I can say about that record. The guitar riff is one of the greatest, if not the greatest guitar riff. Dun 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 dun. Like, it's just. And Ozzy said they had that guitar riff first and build around that song, and which explains he does this a lot, and I think it was on another song he does it as well. Ozzy, that is, like, most of the lyrics went exactly with the beat. So If the beat goes dun 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 dun, he gonna go, "Have you lost your mind?" Like it's something that he did frequently. I'm not sure if that was obviously it was purposely done, but was it a conscious thing of the band? Like, cause you know, Tony, that I'm not really with like going. I just let you in on a little inside thing. It always gets to me, and not in a good way, when the artist like goes exactly with the beat. So you're going dun 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 dun. I want to eat some cake, then I'm gonna take a break. Like those type of things always. Not a knock to the song. I really love this song, but it's something that always like you couldn't come up with another. But it works. It completely works for this. Like completely. It's just one of my pet peeves. Ozzy said it sounded like a big iron bloke walking about. And to be truthfully honest with you, I don't even know what this song is about. Like I don't know what Iron Man is about. It's not about Iron Man, the cartoon, the Marvel character, comic. Like it's not about that at all. From okay, if I could say one thing I got from it, maybe it was about an outcast who was shunned away by society. That's the only thing I could really make about it. I'm pretty sure some elaborate article out there saying in depth what Iron Man's about and things of that nature. But I'm just going off listening to it the first couple times, and that's what I got from it. Or maybe I was just so lost in trance of the record that I didn't even bother to like, try to interpret. I'm just in there in my headphones just rocking out to it. But fucking great record all in all. The greatest riff in probably rock history. If you hear dun 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 dun, another record I wanted to see live, but let's move on. Electric Funeral is the next record. The way it comes on, it reminds me. All I see, not reminds me, but I just see a fucking sick ass rock star walking in a room with smoke, kicking the door open, smoke behind him. He got on a fucking leather jacket. He got like Jack Daniels in his hands, and he's plucking a cigarette. With some tight pants on. That's like all I see when I hear that song come on. That shit is like rock at its core. Like it's just so hard rock. Like he going with the beat again. Again, I wrote that down. I said something I noticed while listening is that Ozzy always goes with the beat. This is the song I was talking about too. Like he always goes with the beat. Like I just want to know, maybe if you know the history behind that or why that was always a thing, please let me know in the comments. The Switch Mid song is fucking ridiculous. They had some awesome switches in the record. Like not just this one, but a lot of the records was only 8, 7. But they had a lot of great switches and a lot of the instrumentals for the records because it was barely any hooks, but it progressed the story, for lack of better words, and I really appreciate that, how the music told the story in itself without having lyrics and things of that nature. I always appreciate that with rock. Tony from the band said, referring to this song and I guess just the time of Black Sabbath, is that it was always like a lot of flowers and hair, and we wanted to sing and play about the other side of life, which I thought was cool. Like, because you got to think, late 60s, 70s, it's flower power. Like everything is like come together type shit. Like it's always happy, we skipping. Like it's always some happy shit, but it's just cool to have a band that went against the grain and went total opposite, and it worked. Obviously I wasn't there in the time. It's probably someone who could tell me more of the experience, how this impacted when it came out. But to me, just in retrospect, it seemed like they needed a anti that. Everybody ain't fucking happy. The world ain't just happy. Fucking Vietnam War's going on, drugs, everything. Like it's some dark shit in that too. Racism. It's a whole bunch of stuff going on at the time. They said that Bill would play it differently every time during takes. Like like the drummer, it was like he didn't know how many times to come in at certain points, and he played 3 instead of 4. So we kept it at 3, and to this day, that's the way they played it. That just shows you how dope music is and how mistakes become great. Mistakes become great. Again, you can't really get that with computerized and quantized and things of this nature, thing we were talking about the other day. Hand of Doom. Okay, it's backstories to this. From what I read, the song's about drugs. Let me just get my perspective out. The song's about drugs, heroin to be exact, what it does to the body, what it does to the human, and ultimately it's not a great thing, and at the end of the day, most likely you'll end up dead. But I thought it was pretty cool. This is terrible. I'm using the word cool to describe heroin in Vietnam. But it was pretty interesting that they wrote a record like this because it was around the Vietnam time. It was a lot of soldiers coming back from Vietnam addicted to heroin. So just to write a song about that, I thought it was awesome just to, because they probably seen a lot of it, even being on tour. Soldiers going overseas, they see them wandering around, and American soldiers wander around, and heroin addicts and things of that nature. The song was also written by Geezer. Again, I think he had an awesome pen. I'm just gonna say that. One of the lines that says, "First it was the bombs, Vietnam, napalm, disillusioning. You push the needle wind. From life you escape reality's black drape. Colors in your mind, satisfying your time." And it's just telling a story of just a heroin addict, for lack of better words. It's really just telling a story and how they become addicted. And it started off as this pleasure, this high, this escape from reality kind of thing. But in the end, it turned terrible. And then it changes 2 minutes in. And I love how the music tells the story. The guitars over that like thumping drum, Jesus, just dope. And then they bring back the original beat, and he goes back. It's like he does 2 verses. It goes into 2 bridges. He tells another story within that, and then he comes back to the original beat. They come back to the original beat with 2 more verses and continue the story on from the first 2 verses. I was like, this is just creativity at its finest. Like, I think the song's like 6-7 minutes, something like that, but creativity at its finest. I really appreciate that. It takes you on a trip of highness, and then when it comes back in, it's like that calmingness of the high. And you know, that could have been a lot. Obviously, it was a lot of people escaping what they used as escaping back then. Like, coming from the Vietnam War, I can only imagine. I read my books and stuff about the Vietnam War, and just like from every perspective, it was terrible. Like, I don't see one good side of that war. But if you needed heroin to escape the bullshit that you had to face every day, man, I can't knock nobody for that. Yeah, Rat Salad. And that's just the instrumental track. Pretty cool. The last song is Jack the Stripper. Okay, this is another one where I was doing more research, and it's a lot of different interpretations of it. Okay, from one aspect, some say it was inspired by an incident Black Sabbath had after a concert where the band was attacked by a bunch of skinheads, right? And Ozzy used to get picked on. Like, there's a couple things. Ozzy used to get picked on by skinheads because how long his hair was and blonde hair and things of that nature. It said we had a constant battle with them, so we wrote a song calling them fairies. So it's like it's Jack the Strippers. That's the beginning. That's the instrumental. The just playing, and then the song is fairies in boots, and it was like, so we're calling them fairies. Like, they're the fairies in boots, and that was Geezer Butler's interpretation of it. And I love the intro, so fucking awesome, but just, I don't know, man. It just told the story and got you ready for what's to come. They did that multiple times on here before the song even started. And then he also said that they used to call Ozzy a fairy because of his hair. So I'm like, what were you guys thinking? Give me one straight story of what this song's about. You like jumping from here to here. I don't know what this song is about. It's great, but I don't know what this song is about. But this can explain it as well, because Butler said Ozzy's lyrics often went on a random tangent. The second half of the song was about LSD. And Ozzy Osbourne also said he wrote the song about LSD. So, like, you can listen to the beginning of the song and get that. And then you listen to the end, he's clearly talking about being high. Like, he has what was the line in here? He said, so I went to the doctor to see what he could give me. He said, son, you've gone too far because you've been smoking and tripping, and that's all you do. Because he was like, what's the hook? I seen, can you look up the lyrics real fast? I think it's just the chorus when he says, like, I seen fairies. Yeah, fairies wear boots. So when I was hearing that, I was like, he was obviously tripping. But it could be up into your interpretation, because he could talk about the fucking skinheads and shit who called him names and things of that nature. You call me a fairy? No, you're the fairy in boots. But you can also take it as just a LSD trip, and I'm writing these crazy lyrics about blah, blah, blah. And then to switch, again, those beat switches, they switch the beat, and then they switch the beat back to the intro beat. 2 fucking thumbs up. And then to end it with that fade out guitar, I thought it was fucking amazing. Let's get into my favorite songs. I'm gonna go with Iron Man, Planet Caravan, and Paranoid. Worst song? Shit, I didn't even have one written down. I'm gonna just be a cop out on this one. I'm gonna just go with Rat Salad because it was an instrument. I'm a cop out. Don't be mad at me. I'm just gonna go with that one. Best line, he says, "Make a joke and I will sigh, and you will laugh and I will cry. Happiness I cannot feel, and love to me is so unreal. And so, as you hear these words telling you now of my state, I tell you to enjoy life. I wish I could, but it's too late." I was like, oh, that's sad. Hashtag sad. But in the scheme of the song, I thought it was great. It's one of the lyrics that stuck out to me. Reviews. I'm going to give it a fucking 5 out of 5. I mean, fucks given, 5 out of 5. I mean, for 8 records, I think every song hit its mark and made a point, and I could tell how impactful this was. Yeah, so 5 out of 5. Generals gathered in their masses. In closing, though, I really enjoyed this album. I'm not gonna lie. I really enjoyed this album. I can see how much this influenced hard rock beyond this. I could tell that they, for a second album, to hit your stride and hit your classic at your second album, I think is something to tip your hat to. And Iron Man's on here. Like, Paranoid's on here. The records on here, they hold meaning. They're not just for 1970. Like, I'm trying to put my mind in 1970, right? And to have these records in 1970, I think was a tremendous feat. Like, we're talking about the war. We're talking about heroin. We're talking about black magic. We're talking about witchcraft. We're talking about LSD. We're talking about everything. Like, everything. When I read the statement that said, like, we wanted to show the world the other side of this flower power type shit, I believe it. And, you know, no matter how you feel, you need albums like this to just push boundaries and change shit up and let people know it's just not this route. It's people who think like this and it's people who think like that. And that's what just art's about. So I appreciate that from every aspect. I enjoy listening to it. Yeah. And I'm glad that I learned more about fucking Ozzy Osbourne than just the Osbourne show. Like, that's one of the dope things I thought came out of this just from my listening, and I would recommend people listen to it. It's a pretty dope album. So, as always, fuck this review. I'm Tatum. Peace.